Good morning, everyone, and welcome to an overview of our August MPF webinar. And we talked about the latest developments in AI as it impacts smaller and mid-sized law firms. And rather than the full 60-minute recording, we've decided here to just do a 20-minute overview. Keep it fast, share with you the data, some of the discussion during the live webinar held last Wednesday. So we're here with Tony DeSimone. Tony is, we call him the resident expert, AI expert here at the MPF. Tony, tell us about yourself. Good to see you this morning.
Good to see you, John. Yeah, I'm a CPA and I am a business consultant and I'm a generative AI specialist. And I've been spending a lot of time working with law firms, helping them safely bring generative AI into the law firm and just training lawyers how to properly use generative AI. Because as you'll see as part of the video, the legal industry is going to be affected probably the most when it comes to generative AI. And it's incredibly important for lawyers to understand this new technology and how to use it properly.
Well, in fact, the ABA just enacted some model rules that suggest you have a responsibility to reasonably understand AI in its
That's right.
capacities. So, and those are model rules, but this stuff isn't going away. It's happening really, really fast, and we're trying to help managing partners stay ahead of it, get ahead of your competitors, and implement these tools responsibly, wisely, ethically to the business of your law firm. So, Tony, we are glad you're here. Uri is normally our co-host. We told Uri he didn't have to show up today, so it's just going to be Tony and I running solo. And Tony's out of Buffalo, calls his firm You're the Expert Now. So Tony, so glad you're here. Our topic, latest developments AI. We had 115 managing partners participating in the live program. And as always, we ask them questions when they register. We run polling questions. Tony's going to comment on those as we bring them up. We've got our recording here, in this case, an abbreviated recording. We'll send you handout materials. And of course, we invite your feedback on the session. When folks register, Tony, this is mostly for your benefit as to firm sizes we attract at these programs. So when folks registered, live, we asked how many lawyers at your firm, and you can see we pretty much hit mid-law, those
Hmm.
25 to 100 lawyer firms. Here's some data, folks, as we get started. This is collected at our big conference, our signature event we do in Atlanta every May. This is just May, not that long ago. And we presented a drop down of your biggest challenges: talent retention, profitability, succession, and AI technology down here at only 6%.
Mm.
Tony,
Wow.
are you surprised by that?
Yeah, very much so. I expect that it should be in everybody's top two to three and soon.
Yeah, I think if we ask this question again today, AI might hold more focus. But you know, the firms all over the country, all over the world, are dealing with these types of issues, and AI can go a long way toward helping you address talent retention and profitability and succession. So, you know, incorporating AI into the practice can have some pretty good impacts around profitability and retention. Um, this was at registration. We asked our registrants to rank their personal skill sets when it comes to the application of generative AI, and one being novice, five being expert. Tony, we got a lot of novices out there.
Yeah, that's not surprising. It is still early. People are, just getting started, and that's the good news for anybody who really isn't all that familiar with generative AI. This is your chance to catch up, especially with the MPF AI community. We're going to help
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, I think you know, we want to push those bar graph, you know, those bars to the right. And
Yeah.
if we were to ask this question among our MPF AI community, and you'll learn more about this at the conclusion of our broadcast, we'll see more folks giving themselves higher marks, better, more command, more confidence over these tools. So it is still a fairly level playing field, but I don't think it's going to stay that level that much longer. We also
No.
ask people to assess their firm's overall generative AI skills. Here are the results to that question.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I'm not surprised by that either. But our goal is to get not only you individually, but the whole firm into the 4 to 5 range. I mean, that's really ultimately where we want to head.
As well, we asked, do you believe that generative AI is going to impact your firm's need for support staff in
Mm.
the coming years? And 40% said, yes, we do. 45% said, I'm not so sure. Tony, I think you and I agree that, yeah, the need for support staff and paralegals and maybe even second, third year associates may not be as high as firms integrate these tools into their practices. Is that a fair
That's right.
statement?
That is a fair statement. And I think that not only will it affect the amount of future employees that you're going to hire, it's also going to affect what the current employees are doing because a lot of these mundane tasks are going to be replaced by generative AI. Also, the not sure, in my opinion, is just people who really haven't gotten started and are so unfamiliar with generative AI, they don't even know how to answer this
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, we are here to help, and I say we're going to introduce a great resource. We have a little tape here Tony created, and let me pull that up. It's a video, runs about 9 minutes. Take this in, everybody.
Generative AI is going to affect the legal industry significantly. Here's a Goldman Sachs Global Investment Research report. Shows all of the industries in America and breaks out how generative AI is going to affect it. The gray means it's likely going to be replaced. The light blue means there's going to be an AI complement. And the dark blue means that there's probably not going to be that much of an adjustment. As you can see in the legal industry, there's the most gray, the most likely replacement, and the rest has an AI complement to it. So it's going to significantly affect the legal industry, which is one of the reasons why every lawyer should learn how to use generative AI. If that's not enough, then maybe this will help. The ABA on July 29th came out with ethical considerations in the use of generative AI. Some of the highlights, it suggests that every lawyer requires a reasonable understanding of generative AI. And they defined reasonable understanding, meaning that the lawyer needs to understand the capabilities and risks of the generative AI. Also, they said that there's a need for continuous learning. This learning can happen internally if you have someone on the team who is up to speed with generative AI. If not, that's the ABA suggests that you go outside to specialists who can help keep you up to speed. Under confidentiality, informed consent is required before inputting client-related information. Also, the ABA suggests that lawyers should review the terms of use and privacy policies of any of the generative AI tools that they're using. Under communications, lawyers may need to disclose the use of generative AI tools to clients, and it's important when generative AI outputs influence significant decisions. Plus, they're going to have to know it well enough to have a discussion with clients who are going to get better and better at using it themselves. So the expectation is that the lawyer is going to be able to keep up with the client. The responsibilities of generative AI with supervisory lawyers. First of all, there needs to be a generative AI use policy within the firm. Also, proper training on ethical and practical use of generative AI tools. The only way you're going to get there as a supervisory lawyer is that you need to know it first. If you're going to have it in your firm, if you're going to have lawyers that are answering to you using generative AI, then you need to know it. Fees must remain reasonable even with generative AI efficiency gains. So if you're billing by the hour and that report used to take 5 hours and now it takes one because of generative AI, you can't bill 5 hours. You got to bill the 1 hour. And the conclusion, basically the ABA is saying this is not a fad. Generative AI is going to play an important role in the legal industry, and it's incredibly important for lawyers to continuously learn and grow and evolve with this generative AI. A couple of weeks ago, Google came out with a survey. They surveyed 2,500 senior leaders of global enterprises, and the survey was on the impact of generative AI on businesses and financial performance. What they discovered was that 74% are currently seeing an ROI from their generative AI investments in the first 12 months. And of those 74%, 86% have seen revenue growth of 6% or more from this generative AI. This is making a significant impact in businesses. Now, this survey wasn't about lawyers, but they are the results that we're seeing in every industry. So, another reason why you want to get started. There are many competitors to ChatGPT. There's Google's Gemini, there's Microsoft's Copilot, there's Anthropic's Claude, there's Perplexity, and of course, there's Elon Musk's X Grok. Grok came out with its second version just last week, and here's a picture of how Elon Musk depicts Grok. So as ChatGPT and Google Gemini
Scaring me.
and Microsoft Copilot are trying to create more guardrails so they can avoid lawsuits, Grok is going in the other direction. It certainly has an attitude, and it allows users to pretty much take anybody's image, anybody's product, and use it any way they want. Here's some examples of what's going on. If I want to create Iron Man drinking a Coca-Cola in front of the Eiffel Tower, I could just go to Grok and create that. Or how about Mickey Mouse smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer? Or how about this beauty?
We're in dangerous territory here, DeSimone.
We are in the wild, wild west when it comes to generative AI, and we're going to focus on what are the legal implications of generative AI when it's so easy to clone a person's voice, take their image, use their products, have them talk on something that has nothing to do with their specialty at all, and be able to create it in 5 minutes or less. By the way, here's a message from LeBron James.
This is the first time I wish I were a lawyer and not a basketball player, because my boys John Remsen and Tony DeSimone are putting something special together for you lawyers, an AI class that's going to set you up for the next level. This isn't just another class, it's a game changer. You'll gain insights that will enhance your practice and position you as a leader in the legal world. If you're serious about leveraging AI to drive results, this is where you need to be. Don't miss this opportunity to elevate your career with Tony and John's expertise, so sign up today.
Now, in our class, we're going to focus on how the ABA, the state bars, the courts are handling discovery briefs and other legal work that is AI generated. We want to keep you up to date with the latest. We're going to share how to safely implement generative AI in your law firm. We're going to discuss the pros and cons of generative AI embedded in legal software like Lexis, Thomson Reuters, and we're going to do it in an unbiased way. We're going to offer a bunch of PDF handouts and videos on all the topics that we're talking about. And most importantly, we're going to create accountability and action items. I want you to use this. We want to make sure that you're just not leaving after an hour and a half and doing nothing. You are going to have accountability. You are going to have action items, and we are going to expect you to be using this generative AI so you can speak on it and you can share use cases with the rest of the group. Our goal is simply this: to help you become part of the 90th percentile or better in generative AI in your field of law. I'm really excited to get started, and I hope you want to be a part of this. John, take it from here.
Tony, thank you for preparing that video. I can't help but mention that Coca-Cola and Disney both guard their copyrights pretty aggressively,
Yeah.
and we can see the litigation that's going to come out of all of this. And, there are firms starting to set up AI practice groups and getting ahead of their competitors. You should be that firm in your market,
That's right.
helping your clients through this, as well as your law firm. Get ahead of it. This is a whole new opportunity. I remember, Tony, when law firms had libraries,
Mm.
books, and they were very, very impressive. And then there's this thing came along called the internet, and that
Yeah.
changed a lot. Then this thing came along called Google, and all the skeptics, oh no, the internet will never replace books. And now we have AI. And this is just amplifying change and integration of technology into the practice of law. So as Tony suggests, we are here to help, and we are creating a community to help get you there. And we'll talk a little bit more about it as we work into the rest of our show. We mentioned the ABA model rules recently enacted. Now, keep in mind, these are ABA model rules. The enforcement's going to come with the state bars, state Supreme Courts. If you're dealing with a federal practice like patent trademark or immigration, a separate set of jurisdictional rules and regulations will apply. So the ABA rules are out there, but it's really important to make sure what you're doing is in compliance with your local jurisdiction or whatever jurisdiction applies to your practice. Our kickoff webinar, you'll learn about in a bit, part of our MPF community. We're going to invite ethics counsel from the ABA and ethics counsel from a couple of state bars to talk to us about the ethical considerations. So that should be a really great kickoff program. We asked from the list below which tools are in play at your firm. Which of these is your firm using on a regular basis?
John, you need to share
54%.
that. We can't see
Oh,
that. We
sorry,
can't see
we
that.
can't see
Yeah.
that. Really? Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I see. I see. Now it's right up there. No?
No, it's still just me and you.
Ah, I see my problem. Okay. I see my problem. I got to go back to sharing here. This is we got a new interface on the platform we use here, so I'm fumbling around with it, folks. Please forgive me. Back to the screen. Yeah, people love the charts, the graphs that we generate as part of our programming. And Uri's
It's
often reminding me as well, Tony, to John, advance the slides. John, show the polling results. So it's kind of a multi-step process on these pollings. We asked you of these tools, the common characters, Chat, Copilot, Lexis, Westlaw, which of these is your firm using on a regular basis? More than half say ChatGPT is here, and Westlaw, LexisNexis fairly evenly split. But boy, their sales teams are in there sending you lots of information, wanting you to schedule meetings and buy their stuff.
yeah.
Tony, comment on that?
Well, yeah, I'm not surprised that ChatGPT is the majority. I think that is one of the better generative AI to start with because it's going to give you probably the most, features to kind of really get a feel for what generative AI is. So I like that.
Yeah, I've been playing around with it for a while, and I'm telling you, it can draft a session description, it can draft a biographical profile. It can take minutes of meetings. It's unbelievable. And, I'm no tech savvy guru, but man, I found it to be a huge, huge time saver and write stuff better than I could have, at least initial drafts. You
Yeah.
still got to review this stuff and apply your smarts, but, to just really, come up with drafts and it's amazing. We mentioned the cloud research. That's businesses. We're going to ask the law firms as well if you're starting to see ROI. We saw that 74% of businesses in that Google Cloud survey said they are achieving ROI. They can measure
Yeah.
it, their applications. Chat GPT policies, Tony, good to see more and more firms are putting policy in place. And of course, the key is enforcing your policy if you have such policy in place.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The model rules that you get from the ABA, I think that even though those aren't necessarily the state bar rules, I would believe every state's going to have, you need an AI, generative AI policy. So I would hope that that's going to get closer to 100% quickly.
Yeah, I'm no expert. I'm observing some of the states are leaning in a little more aggressively than others who would prefer to ban AI if they could. I remember Florida Bar in the early days of law firm advertising and such. They wanted to ban the internet. Florida.
Mm.
Law firms don't need websites, says the Florida Bar. It's like, whoa, okay. So, those people are out there, and some states a little more embracing than others. But get that
Mm.
policy. Good draft. Chat GPT. Give me an AI policy for a mid-sized commercial law firm in Jackson, Mississippi, 500 words or less, please, and you'll get a nice first draft if your
Yeah.
offices are in Jackson or elsewhere in Mississippi. So here's our famous Rogers adoption curve. And we all know law firms tend to lag. They got to be dragged into the future. They like precedent, and lawyers notoriously averse to change and risk. So here are the innovators out there. Tony, we know a few of those.
Yeah.
We want to push you into at least the early majority, the front half of the early majority. We don't want you showing up on the backside of this curve. So adoption, adoption, and doing so responsibly, bringing data, bringing the kind of stuff Tony and I are working on. Tony, what do you think? That adoption curve, law firms?
Well,
Um,
most of the law firms tend to be on that right-hand side. The good news here is, as far as a law firm is concerned, that if you can jump over to early majority, you could be far ahead of your competition. And that's really all you need to be. You don't have to be the specialist in generative AI, as compared to everybody. You just need to be the specialist in your field. And if you can jump to early adopter, there's so much opportunity out there, John.
And here, Tony, we asked our audience, 110 law firm leaders, where do you fit on that curve?
Mm.
And there's too much late majority and lagging, in our opinion. You
Yeah.
can't afford to get too far behind here because the folks who are ahead of you are going to just accelerate the distance, and it's going to be harder and harder to catch up if you don't, try to get ahead of the
Yeah,
pack
and a,
as
and a
much as you can.
compliment to well, and a compliment to you too, John. You if if it wasn't for MPF, you'd probably even have more late majority and laggards in this survey, because this survey shows probably more early adopters and early majority because of the fact they're part of MPF.
Yeah, they self-select obviously just to come to this program, So these are obviously people who are probably ahead of most
Yeah,
firms
agreed,
because they're
agreed.
interested in this topic. So even the people most interested in the topic are behind the curve. So boy, there is such opportunity here to jump forward in a responsible, we keep emphasizing, in a responsible, strategic, ethical way. And we want to help you sell your partners, the skeptics back at the firm. I hear from a lot of managing partners, this data we collect. John, you give me the ammunition to bring it on to my change averse, risk averse partners at home. When I bring on this data, they pay attention and it can be
Mm.
very persuasive. That ROI question here at the law firm level, only 14% of law firms say they can measure some ROI.
Yeah,
And in that cloud survey, Tony, you mentioned earlier, it's 74% for the general
yeah.
business community. So here's
That,
here's a demonstrable
yeah,
graph.
this survey, I'm not happy with this response. When generative AI is so cheap, I mean, literally $20 a month for ChatGPT.
Mhm.
If you can't find a return on investment in the first hour, you're not trying. I mean,
Yeah.
really, you're not
Yeah, yeah.
trying.
Just drafting documents, reviewing documents, editing documents. And Tony, we've been doing Zoom calls with managing partners as well, more intimate, part people who come to our conferences, and it's really interesting what's being shared and how firms are starting to apply it. And we have a handful of managing partners I might put out there, not on the bleeding edge, but they're certainly distinguishing. Rosanna, Charlie, we talked about our friends at Constangi.
Yep.
Just 3 firms that are leaning in and starting to feel the results. So if you're looking at precedent, there are 3 firms to look at. And I'm sure if you picked up the phone and call any of them, they're part of our community, they'd be happy to share with you how they're using it and what they're doing to put it in play. So I
Yeah.
love this little slide. I've been using this little guy a couple of webinars now. So, what's a firm leader? That's you, firm leaders. What am I supposed to do? I want to do the right thing, and we say lean into it. That's pretty clear, but be smart about it. And so here's our guidance. The idea of a beta group, Tony, we've presented that, and I know a number of
Yeah.
firms in our communities are playing with beta groups within the firm. You know, groups of across practice areas, lawyers, support staff, put that policy out there. Uh, Again, so easily generated on Chat GPT. It's not the policy. You got to edit it, review it, proof it, fact check it. But it's a damn good first start. Will save you hours and hours and hours. Train
Yeah.
up your people. The query is really, really important. How you ask the question. Chat GPT wants to please you, and how you present your question will go a long way toward how it pleases you. Uh, Several of our more forward-thinking managing partners are accusing their brethren of being a little too myopic around
Hmm.
this. I mean, the policy, the training, duh. Let's look beyond that at billing implications. You mentioned it, Tony. A project that used to take 5 hours now takes one. And so value-based billing,
Yeah.
flat fees, fixed fees, retainers, getting off the billable hour and looking at more value-based billing practices. I think
Right.
smart firms will be doing. And come take a look at our MPI AI community. So Tony and I behind the scenes have been working our butts off to craft a set of benefits that we think will be of extreme value to leaders of smaller, mid-sized law firms to help you get in there and get ahead of the pack. We're going to do webinars on an ongoing basis. We're going to be doing periodic Zoom calls when something hot happens. We're going to have flash Zoom calls. Tony's going to produce a tip every Tuesday morning. You're going to get a little something in your inbox from us, authored by Tony, just some practical little tip or something new development that we thought you might know about. We're going to set up a listserv and create a real rich set of resources that I think will be hopefully very attractive to many, many people. One of the things we're selling is you can trust us. We're not selling you stuff. We're agnostic. We're going to help you sift through all the stuff coming at you. I've heard more than one managing partner say, boy, my inbox is being bombarded by webinars and people wanting to teach me how to learn AI. Most of them are vendors. And do you trust LexisNexis to do what's in the best interest of your firm, or do you trust a more agnostic, independent point of view? Tony,
Yeah.
talk to us about this community a little bit and what you see coming up.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited for this community. Part of the difference, really, that we're going to have versus what perhaps they're seeing out there is that I don't want you to just sit there and listen to something for an hour and a half and then forget about it. We're going to create real accountability and real action items. John, I didn't mention I've been an adjunct professor at the University of Buffalo teaching this type of stuff for decades now. And part of what I always like to do is to make sure we're creating accountability and actionable items so that we can make sure we want them to be fours and fives in generative
Yep.
AI. I mean, that's the
Yep.
goal, and we're going to make it happen.
And Tony doesn't fool around. He's going to sick that Gronk guy on you.
Yeah.
When that his name, Musk's thug.
Yeah, that's
We're
right.
gonna. I hadn't heard of him until this program. And where Mickey, roll back the tape when you get a chance and notice where Mickey is stuffing his cigarette. It's like
It's
I
not
hope we don't
perfect
hear
yet.
from the Disney and Coke people or LeBron. But isn't it powerful? And Tony, you made that little video in a matter of minutes, and LeBron, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously he had nothing to do with it, but it
right.
looked pretty
Yeah.
real if you weren't paying close attention.
And that's
So
why we want, and that's part of what we want to do. We want to make the community here aware of what can be created because there are going to be legal implications to
oh,
all of this. And
huge.
we want our community to know about it so that they could be the leaders in that part of the,
Huge.
generative
And
AI
it's election
evolution.
cycle. You're not
Yeah.
going to know what's real and what's not.
Right.
It's so authentic, and it's getting better and better and better.
Mm.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of fraud and litigation and IP IP opportunities here. These are our contact information. Uri wasn't on this abbreviated version, but he's our partner in crime on these webinars. We do them every Wednesday, every third Wednesday of the month, and they're free. And so hopefully you keep coming back. And thank you for listening to our recap. We hope it's helpful and inspiring you to learn more about AI and take a look at our resource we're putting together. We think you'll find tremendous value there. We encourage you to check it out. Tony, thank you.
My pleasure, John. Always a
Thank
pleasure.
Thank you, and we'll see you next week. And have a great weekend. We're recording this on a Saturday morning. It's August 24th, so we'll see you next week, and have a great rest of the Saturday.
Take care.
Thanks, Tony. Bye now.
You got it.
We did it, Tony. We did it. That ran. The time on it was, it ran 34, but that's okay. That's okay. I thought it was good that sort of third time. We had we'll get to know each other and how we play. It took Uri and I to kind of sync up and find our shtick. Get a few of them off the bat. Tony, I will send the follow up. I've been talking to Juan rather than try to push it out over the weekend. First thing Monday morning, we're going to send an email blast. Everyone who had registered for the thing will click here for the abbreviated recap, the recording. Click here for the handouts. Send me those articles you mentioned, the AI model rules. If you could just send me a PDF we can put in there. And if there's anything else you want to stick in there, I'm using your bio that we did for the conference in Atlanta. So there'll be a cover, your bio, the PowerPoint deck with all the polling results, and anything you send me beyond that. Click here to learn more about the AI community. We'll offer you a $200 discount. I also, Tony, thought it would be a good idea just to get it started. The people who are in our little focus groups, I'm going to comp each of them a registration for a year. Tony, are you there?